Facebook and Instagram.
Nature's Pickins.
This is the place to be. Farm living is the life for me. Land spreading out so far and wide. Keep Manhattan, just give me that countryside.
Nature's Pickins.
This is the place to be. Farm living is the life for me. Land spreading out so far and wide. Keep Manhattan, just give me that countryside.
Nature's Pickins.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Michelle Higbee from Nature's Pickins, located on 464 Connellsville Street in Uniontown. The phone number at the store is 724-438-4211. That's 724-438-4211. The phone number here at the show is 724-438-4593. 724-438-4593. I'm going to be joined by with Randy Miles today, and we're going to be talking about a couple different things. But till I connect with him, let me just tell you a little bit about Nature's Pickins. We've been in business 45 years. Thank you very much, because it's you that has kept us in business for 45 years, so thank you. We are open Monday through Friday from 9 to 4, Saturday 9 to 3. That's Monday through Friday 9 to 4, Saturday 9 to 3. We are located on 464 Connellsville Street in Uniontown, right next to the Dairy Queen, diagonal from Fayette Rental Solutions. So stop up and check us out. We have different sales that we run every month. Right now we have Nordic Naturals is on a line drive. We also have Solar Rays, a couple different things from Solar Ray, different products from Solar Rays on sale. Vitamin C, their collagen bone complete, their magnesium glycinate. I know a lot of you are looking for that. So come up and check those out. And just different sales by, different companies. So stop in and check it out. We also got some new product in the grocery side, some really good chips and candy bars, like protein bars, things like that. So check those out while you're up there. But like I said, that's Monday through Friday, 9 to 4, and Saturdays, 9 to 3. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and connect with Randy, and we're going to get started. But if you do have any questions or comments for us, give us a call today at 724-438-4593, and we will be more than happy to try and answer them for you. Hey, Randy, how's it going today?
It's good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. So I got a question for you real quick before we start. What is the temperature in Texas today?
83.
83, that's it? Wow.
That's it.
I thought it would be hotter.
Yeah, we're still kind of it's been mild. So, and I apologize about my voice.
Okay.
It's been raining. It's been raining a lot. So,
allergies?
Got all kinds of, oh my goodness. Yeah. we can cover that too.
Yeah.
There's some things that have helped quite a bit, but it kind of, when it gets into your chest,
yeah,
it just wants to linger around, and that's kind of what I'm fighting right now. But yeah, I'm kind of past the bad part.
Okay, I was going to say, don't be doing a cow bush now.
Yeah, no, when you're coughing, you wake yourself up. That was like on Sunday, and I was like, this is fun.
Yeah,
but at least had an extra day to rest.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I do appreciate you doing it, even though you're a little under the weather. Allergies are a terrible thing this time of year, no matter where you live. When that springtime allergy hits, a lot of people have issues with it. My nephew is having a terrible time right now, and I got on him because I said, you have quercetin at the house, don't you? He goes, yeah, I took it. I said, no, you didn't. I said, because if you took it, you wouldn't sound like you're sounded. He goes, well, I tried one or two a day for a couple days. It didn't work. I said, no, you didn't. Go get it and start taking it. So I talked to him today, and I said, oh, you sound much better. I know.
Uh, yeah, I love the I know you know. That's what I told you, right?
Yeah. You know, you just know exactly that they didn't try it. They didn't take it. But quercetin, I think, is one of the best things for allergies, to be honest. I have my daughter on it. Dr. Michael Murray, I had a radio show with him. Oh, wow, it's probably been, let's see, Erin's 22, so 11 years ago. And she has allergies an arm length. You know, she's allergic to everything under the sun. And we were talking about the EMIQ by natural factors, the quercetin, and I said to him, I said, hey, told him about Erin, and I said, she's 11. You know, could she use it? And he goes, I'm telling you now, give her one in the morning, give her one when she gets home from school, every day. And I did. And honestly, Randy, within 3 days, at 11 years old, it was like she didn't have any allergies at all within 3 days.
No, that's great. Yeah, that's actually I took my super quercetin today.
Yeah, it works fantastic, and everybody that I turn on to quercetin, and now listen, it depends on, you know, you got to make sure you have a high quality one, you know that, and you know, one that's bioavailable. But you know, you get a really good one, you'll get a really good response from it. But I know that's off topic for us today. I know we wanted to talk about a couple of different things, and one of the things that I think that's like a big buzzword on TikTok and other social media groups is creatine. I have so many people coming into the store wanting to know what creatine is, why is it such a big topic today. So I know that we wanted to talk about that today to kind of let the listeners know what it is and, you know, why you want to make sure you get a good form of creatine as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, you know, creatine, I'd say it's interesting because me and you have been doing this for a long time. And really it had its notoriety back in the day. But it was mostly for athletes. I think you heard a lot about it when Mark McGwire was in all those home runs. And,
yeah.
And you know, but back then it hadn't been studied very much, or minimal, I'd say that. And people were taking a really high dose. They were taking like 20 grams, which is exceptionally high. I mean, that's really a loading phase that you shouldn't do long term. But I'll get into that a little later. But then you started seeing just this constant research being done, and after it kind of, you know, I'm just throwing a little history there, that after kind of like says, well, it's going to dry up your joints if you take a high dose and it's causing injuries, and there were all these like negative things about creatine, and I think that kind of stuck with it for a little while. And here we fast forward, you know, 20 years later, and they're like, wow, there's research, and I'm not talking about a couple studies here and there. We're talking about studies in NIH and you know, peer-reviewed medical journals, and I'm glad that social media kind of threw it out there. You know, sometimes social media will throw some things out there like bee pollen
that are very questionable.
Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
that are questionable. And but this creatine, it's actually great to see people coming to the store that would never have looked at that because, like, oh, that's for bodybuilders or that's for, you know, a certain demographic, and definitely not for women and things of that sort. And now they're like, wow, I didn't know this. And it's like, is that true? And then you really can start looking at it, and there's so many truths about it and so much research behind it. And so I'm happy that in this particular case, it's bringing women, especially into the stores, because they're one of the persons that benefits the most. And who are you seeing coming into your store asking?
Mostly older people.
Okay.
You know, they're seen on, like I said, on TikTok, and really surprisingly, you know, older people on TikTok. I don't even have a TikTok, but they're on TikTok and they're seeing creatine being recommended for cognitive function. And unfortunately, as we get older, that's one of the big scares for us is, keeping all of our cognitive abilities. So they're looking for it for that. And then also for like osteoporosis, muscle, problems. They're asking about that too. But I have a couple like parents asking for children because they're in sports, asking about creatine, but mostly, honestly, it's mostly older adults.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. That's probably where I've seen the biggest growth, that in women. And if you think about what the research is saying on creatine, so number one, you're talking about energy production. That's what creatine is. It's an amino acid. It helps ATP synthesis. That's just a fancy word for energy.
Now, that's cellular energy, right?
The cellular energy, too. But that, you got to remember every cell in your body has mitochondria.
Right.
And that's what uses ATP. Every brain cell, your brain uses a lot because think about it, just because you're sitting there resting, 20% of your energy is your brain using that. That's why we can get fatigued. Like, for instance, if you do a 2-hour or 3-hour radio show, you're probably mentally a little tired afterwards because your brain's working hard. It's using energy. And so back to saying, anybody who's looking at that part of it, that's kind of the most interesting part, especially for your older customers, is that your baseline energy levels in your brain, generally, specifically women, which is interesting, they have a lower base level of ATP. So that's why you see women benefiting from creatine so well, because their baselines are just genetically a little bit on the lower side when it comes to that. I think it's because you guys think more than we do.
I was going to say, is there a reason really why women would have a lower baseline?
Not a lower baseline, but I kind of look at it the other opposite way. It's like, you guys think more than we do, so you probably are using more mental energy, and us men aren't using enough, so that's why maybe ours is a little higher.
And women go, oh wait, what is the consequences of our actions? And men goes, hell, just do it.
Yeah, just do it, right? Yeah, that's what gets us in trouble. So yeah, no, for really anybody, but it's so mental energy. That's kind of one of the things that you see in the research that's really up there. The other thing you'll see is an improvement in short-term memory.
Oh wow!
And that one's so important. And again, the studies are the ones that I'm talking about here that are talking about this. These are human clinicals, 3 to 5 grams. That's why it's great to be able to talk about this, because this is what's in the research. And so increased in short-term memory. And I always tell people that, when you're trying to think of something and you're looking for it, up, you got your hand up and you're looking up, your eyes are looking up and you're trying to grab it out of that brain. That's what I was saying, there's that short-term memory. You can't quite pick it. And when you start taking supplements, like magnesium threonate, Bacopa, creatine, it helps you grab that stuff quicker. So that's something that your customer can actually see, that improvement. Not everyone's going to have that exact response, but it's nice to be able to say, wow, I grabbed that a lot quicker. That's actually what I'm looking for. How many people come in your store looking for help with memory?
Oh, absolutely.
And so not only that, and then you kind of were also talking about muscle integrity. That's where creatine comes into play for that. And you start talking about bone health. It starts coming into that. Helps with mood. And so a lot of things that people are looking for are encompassed with just creatine. And it's a great place to start, and it's got a lot of studies behind it, too. So I'm happy that customers are coming and asking me that.
Now, let me ask you a question, because when I was researching creatine the last couple of days, I seen research that was out there on the benefits of creatine with different neurological diseases like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, ALS. Is that the same reasoning behind that research that I'm reading? Is because the energy to the mitochondria?
Yeah, what they're saying is that when you it takes longer for instance, creatine. It absorbs in the muscles really, really quickly.
Okay.
In the brain, it takes longer. But what they're finding is when those baseline levels are higher, that ATP is higher, that creatine levels are higher, the brain has more energy to function properly. So anytime you're giving your body, your brain, the ability to work within a more normal function, that's why it's a supplement, helping things, then you start seeing benefits in other places. And you're right, there are studies that they're looking at closer to with some of those neurological issues. And they've already looked at things like depression and anxiety, so mood, and the benefits of that. When you think about it, if your brain's tired and you're mentally tired, it's hard to maybe have a good, disposition on things.
Yeah.
But when your brain is alert and you're thinking and your critical skills, by the way, that was another thing I was reading about, like for test taker or problem solving and anything along those lines, if you're critically thinking, creatine is actually shown to help improve that. And so if you think of that, your mind's lethargic, you got anxiety and mood and those sorts of things, and you could take like a creatine that's giving your brain more energy, and you feel more alert, you feel more focused, then I think a lot of other things are going to be, in a more positive light. So yeah, there's so many great things that it helps and that the research says.
So creatine is one, I mean, there's not very many things that do this, but creatine is one of those things across the blood-brain barrier?
That's correct. It's an amino acid. So think about it like protein.
Okay.
You break protein down, you got your arginine, lysine, glutamine. Those are all amino acids. The brain uses a lot of glutamine too, and carnitine, acetyl-L-carnitine. So yes, it's an amino acid. It's an essential thing that we get from our food, like protein, but also it's something we can take supplemental form and creatine. And to answer your question.
So I had a gentleman that came in yesterday, and quite honestly, even though I was looking at the different research and so forth, I didn't think about creatine to talk to him about it or show him it. But creatine is one of those things that seems to help older people with energy, more energy throughout the day. He was saying, I take different things. I take my supplements. I take this. I take that. But man, my energy is just not there. I just wear out faster. Would creatine have been one of those things I probably should have talked to him about for his energy level?
Definitely. I mean, if you think about it, if he's lethargic or he's tired, that could be two things. He could be mentally tired and physically tired. And what feeds the muscles? ATP, energy, creatine. What feeds the brain? ATP, creatine, energy. You're really getting both of those things. You're giving him like physical energy or the ability of that, and also mental energy, instead of just feeding the muscles or just feeding the brain and the body not responding. It's a great baseline, and honestly, it's not just for older generations.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen people benefit. I mean, from high school kids, middle age, even me. I've been impressed as this has been around, and we forget so easily because we're always looking for the new thing. And I guess I'm going to chalk this down as an oldie but goodie. It's been around for a long time, and there's so many people that can benefit from it. I think women right now are probably the fastest growing demographic that are trying creatine,
Mm-hmm.
which you would have thought, it's going to be the muscle builder guys or whatever. It's like, no, it's actually women. And because there's so many things, like you said, bone density, hormone, mood, brain, cognitive, all those things. So that's great that's there. And yeah, for your customer, that's a great place to start, really, honestly, across the board for anybody that comes in the store.
So, question for you. Years ago, before all of this research come out with creatine, there was always questionables about the safety of creatine. But those have all been debunked from what I've read that, I mean, you shouldn't be taking 20 grams of creatine a day. But if you do the 3 to 5 grams, or if you do, like you said, a loading of the creatine, short term, there is no side effects that I've read.
No, yeah, and you're right. I mean, at the beginning, it got that notoriety. It's like, oh man, this stuff is not safe, and of course, I always say, more is better, right? And that's what everybody thinks. No, it's not. And you're right. The 20 grams is kind of the upper amount, and that's not long term, of course, because your kidney has to break that down, and
Yeah.
so, you know, it's kind of like protein. Back in the day, like, oh, you should be doing 100 grams of protein or 150 grams of extra protein. I'm like, yeah, your kidneys have to do something with that. So anything in excess is obviously not good. But yes, it has been debunked. But the best part is that it's been more narrowed for the dosaging. It's 3 to 5 grams. So if you walk into your store today, you're probably going to find a powder tub, and it's probably going to be 5 grams per serving.
Mm-hmm.
And that's well within where you should be. Some people do like half a scoop morning, half a scoop afternoon, and I have had people do 2 scoops a day, well within reason. Again, though, what's important is you drink water with it, and the reason that's important is if you already have a dehydration problem and you're already dry, you already have so many other issues. Creatine is not going to benefit you because it's going to be using water and absorbing water. That's how it works. That's how you make energy with water, right? That's what makes us who we are. And so that's kind of where I always tell people, you make sure you're hydrating yourself because creatine uses a lot more water. And back in the day, they were taking these huge doses of creatine, and it would dry their joints out. I was like, well, yeah, of course. You're using so much creatine, that uses so much water, and you're not hydrating, and you're working out with dry joints. Yeah, that's not good.
Now, that's drinking water, though, too, right, Randy? I mean, that's not, but I drink coffee, and I drink iced tea, and I drink, no, because those are dehydrating as well, and most people don't understand that. So when you're using creatine, you need to actually drink water.
Yeah, need to drink water. Exactly right. And between 3 and 5 grams, you're not asking for a huge, intake increase in water. You're just talking about drinking, I drink 3 liters a day minimum during the day, so that's kind of my standard, but I tell people, at least drink a couple liters of water per day. When you're taking creatine, it's also important. It's going to make it work better. And then, when we start talking about hydration, that's a little bit different subject. But yeah, that you want to drink water so that works. And you're right. Diet Coke and all the I'm not gonna say don't drink coffee because coffee has so much benefits. But 8 cups of coffee a day. I mean,
I don't think you need a pot.
No, maybe not a pot. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it is dehydrating. But it does have good benefits. I agree. But I don't think anybody needs to drink a pot of coffee a day. I think you need to exchange at least 6 of those cups for water. Thinking of hydration, though, I think that's one of the biggest problems that I probably encounter with people coming into the store is hydration. They get muscle cramps, they get leg cramps, excuse me, different issues. And when I say, are you drinking enough water? Yes, I'm drinking plenty of water. But sometimes just drinking the water doesn't necessarily mean you're getting the electrolytes that your body needs for that hydration. Bluebonnet come out with a product called Hydration, and it's an electrolyte drink mix. Tell the listeners a little bit about, the hydration product and why that is so important, Randy.
The first thing is obviously hydration. When you drink water, that's how your body detox. Just think about that. So everything in your system needs water. So you drink some water, and your first thing your body's going to start flushing things that are not supposed to be in your system. That's how that all works. But with that also comes your minerals and some other things, your vitamins. And then when you sweat, obviously that you're getting rid of, minerals and all that. So water intake is extremely important, but so is mineral intake. And it's called electrolyte balance. And I say that because as hydration has come in, to more popularity, social media, even just at the store levels. I mean, you take a hydration set 10 years ago, and it was probably one shelf in your store. And now, and I'm asking, you probably have a whole 4-foot by 4-foot set of hydration, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Exactly right. So I'm glad that it's out there. But at the same time, I caution people, and it's not because we have a product that I think is more scientifically sound. I warn people because there are a lot of products out there. I'm not even talking about sugar content. I'm not talking about anything other than some of them are extremely high in sodium.
Oh, wow. Yes, absolutely. I agree.
And I'm gonna tell you, just like anything, when something new comes to people's attention, the first thing they jump at is like, oh man, I need to try that. And I'm not gonna name any particular companies because I don't think that's fair, but I'm gonna say that there are some out there that I personally think that the sodium levels are just too high. And you start seeing a residual effect of people when they start taking those high dosages on a very consistent level. Let's say 1 or 2 packets a day. And I've had people tell me, my hands started swelling up. I had one person tell me they had like heart palpitations, and I was like, okay, well, what are you taking? Kind of discussed. I was like, well, how much sodium are you taking in per day? I'm taking like 5 or 6 grams of sodium.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's it. Yeah. Again, we're back to the creatine talk. More is not necessarily better. And we're not built on just sodium. We're built on potassium, sodium chloride, magnesium, calcium, balance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think it's important to look at something. That's the approach that we have with our hydration product. It is the exact ratio of minerals that you sweat out. So we copied nature and said, okay, this is the ratio that the average person loses when they sweat. This is how much sodium, how much potassium, how much magnesium, calcium. We're gonna see. That's how nature does it. We're gonna copy that. So that is our approach, which is I think is a lot more not only scientifically sound, but also a little bit more responsible for your consumers. And it's also something that's simple. You can walk to an entire 4-foot set, look at our product, look at the hydration, pick this up, hand it to a customer, say, this is the exact ratio that you sweat out. It copies nature. And so you don't have to worry about, man, did I take too many? Did I take too little? No, this is nice and simple. So that's why I like the product. And on top of that, it has theanine in it, which is really good for relaxation and inflammation and cognition and recovery. So, but that's kind of my interpretation, my point of view on that.
Now, I mean, with Blue Bonnet's hydration, I mean, they're pretty much recommending like one of these little packets, and I'm going to the one I brought down I have open, so I'm going to show that's one little stick of this hydration a day is usually what they recommend. Are there situations, Randy, that somebody may have to take more than one? For example, my daughter, and I've told you this before, has POTS. And one of the things that the cardiologist recommended was electrolyte supplement can help to get rid of the symptoms of POTS. So would that be one of the times that maybe somebody would have to use a couple of those sticks a day? That would give them about 1,200 milligrams of sodium. And then before you answer, would they have to regulate their sodium intake through their food if they're using any type of electrolyte supplement with sodium?
Okay, all great questions. And so here's kind of how I usually sum it up is, okay, so it's electrolyte balance. That's the best part. What is not going to be consistent is, for instance, if you work in an office or if you work outside. You obviously, the more you sweat, the more minerals you're going to expel. So when it comes to electrolytes, I tell people everyone should have, one stick a day. Absolutely, it's just that the right ratio. You're getting minerals. We all need minerals. They're all beneficial. Now, if you have a shortage or let's say you started a workout regimen. I know everybody's working out right now, especially for the summer. They want to look good for the beach and or just feel better in general. Or you're working outside in your yard, it's summer, or, the more you sweat, the more water you're going to drink. The more water you drink and the more you sweat, the more minerals you lose. So that's how you kind of look at electrolytes. I think one per day, great. On those days that you're expelling, more minerals, more sweat, more active, yeah, it's okay to increase to 2. It's okay to increase to 3. I mean, if you were working outside all day in the yard for 6 hours, you probably sweat a lot. So I think it's relative to how much water you're drinking, and then how much expenditure you're having. Like if you do a hot yoga, for instance, you definitely want one after that. I can attest to it.
Yeah. So would you regulate your sodium intake throughout the day of other foods when you're maybe consuming more than one of those a day?
I think you have to be cognizant of that anyways. The more processed foods you're eating, the more sodium there is in there, and the more refined sugar that is in there, which we start going down that rabbit hole. There's a whole lot of other things that's going to affect that electrolytes can't help with, So I think when you're looking at health overall, you're looking at, you're right, sodium intake. That's how much processed food you're having. How much refined sugar, that's processed food. So the cleaner you're eating, really, the less you're going to have to worry about those sorts of things. But if you're having breakfast, lunch, and dinner, all processed foods, processed sugars, there's just a multitude of things we can't upset. Remember, they're called supplements, not replacements.
I do know that most people, when they, talk about, especially in the summertime, maybe they're out golfing or, like you said, gardening, different things, and they start complaining about leg cramps and things. It's usually if they start using an electrolyte supplement, those symptoms usually subside because they start replacing those minerals in. Would you recommend that somebody would take a good multivitamin to make sure they're getting all of their other minerals in addition to the hydration with like the potassium and magnesium in it too, because that's more of a balanced type thing compared to their multi?
Yeah, exactly right. So multi's whole purpose is to fit in all the gaps from the foods we eat or do not eat. And so that's why it's important. It's your foundation. So really, yeah, I'd say every time someone would come into the health food store, I would always ask them, are you taking a good multi? And you kind of get the 1 to 3 answer range. It's like, yeah, I got one at the grocery store or wherever,
Yeah.
or or I just ran out. Thank you. I need to get another one. Or it's like, no, I used to take one, but I don't think about it anymore. And so I always liked asking that question because it just brings up the conversation of, where's your baseline? Where's your foundation? Just like a house, it's like, hey, you start building a house. Like, did you get the foundation done? It's like, well, I wasn't really looking at it. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So I always like to start there. And it does open the dialogue. It's like, I know I should take a multi. And I really hate those reports you see every now and then, every 6 months, a year, or whatever. It's like, multivitamins don't do anything, and they're not, this, that, or whatever, and there's no benefit to it. And I'm like, no, that is not correct. It's really helping fill in all those gaps because we don't change our food. We're creatures of habit.
Right.
So that's always great place to start. And someone who's outside, those younger athletes, older athletes, whoever, that are expending, energy and sweating and all that, yeah, they need more minerals, more supplements. But specifically, we were talking about was the leg cramps, stuff like that. I found that if you use a hydration product daily, long term, a creatine, think about that, because that's actually giving energy to the muscles. That's a good thing. So it's helping them function normally. Those two are great baselines to start if you are active, especially if you're getting leg cramps.
I was gonna ask you, can you take both of those? Could I mix the hydration in with the creatine, or should I keep them separate?
I do it almost daily. So when I mix my hydration, I throw a little bit of creatine in there. I don't ever overdo it because I drink a lot of water, so I'm adding stuff to my water throughout the day, anyways. So yes, you could definitely use them together. They definitely help each other out because you're putting minerals in, and let's say magnesium, 300 different energy functions in the body. Creatine, ATP, all the mitochondria gives it energy. So you're really having this nice synergistic approach. And using those long term, that's great. Now, if you're still having leg cramps and you're doing something consistently, and someone's not having to tell you like you had to tell I think your grandson earlier, like, yeah, I know, I should have done that, but I took one, it didn't work, right? Okay.
Yeah.
You have to be consistent. You have to be consistent taking like a regimen. But if you're still having that issue, that's where I like that magnesium, potassium, bromelain.
Okay.
Yeah, so when a muscle, it's called adduction, reduction, which is all fancy word for contracting, retracting. So when a muscle moves, one pulls, one gives, one pushes. Magnesium and potassium are really important for that function. So one mineral is used for one thing, one mineral is used for another. So that's a really good one for leg cramps, especially like at nighttime. And it's got bromelain in there, which is good for, for pineapples. So it's good on inflammation and that sort of thing. So I usually kind of start customers in that trifecta. Here's your 1, 2, 3 things for that.
Okay.
And here's your regimen for that. Here's your stack for that. So now you know what you're taking as for. Leg cramps are a big problem for you. Here's your A, B, and C to take. Start there. Do that for 3 to 6 weeks. Come back and talk to us. And so they can come back to the store and say, hey, Michelle, thank you for telling me about this. I've told other people it works great. Or it could be, it didn't help me. And you can say, okay, I've done this 40 plus years. I know someone's done it 30, someone who's done it 25. I've got all these outlets and all this information. So let's try a different approach. Let's go a different direction. And so that's the best part about this whole journey is doing that.
So this time of year, of course, everybody, yes, a lot of people will be out golfing and doing different types of sport type things, but a lot of us are out doing, cutting our grass, doing our flowers, doing our flower beds, doing gardens. So we're doing a lot of, how do I want to say, extra exertion type things outside. So we feel good, we want to do it, get it done, and then the next couple of days afterwards, the inflammation kind of bites us a little bit, and we're like, wow, we can tell this has been winter, and now here's spring. We're not as active in the wintertime as we are when the weather finally breaks. What are some of those really good anti-inflammatory? Now, I know you just talked about bromelain, but I know there's quite a few other ones that are out there. This time of year, I love cherries, and I know that we can supplement cherries, tart cherry juice or tart cherry capsules as well if you don't like cherries. But what are some of those other things that people can use anti-inflammatory wise to help them maybe get over these hurdles of, I'm going to say overexertion because that's what we do. We got to get it done. The house has got to look good, so, and it kind of, it does. It kind of creeps up on us.
It does. There's a lot of things in the store that you could say, okay, are anti-inflammatory or which kind of falls into anti-aging too, but I will go down that road. But I usually tell people,
Why?
well, because sometimes I'll go down the wrong rabbit hole. Because I'll be like, hey, I've got inflammation, I like this stuff. I was like, okay, well, this is also good for anti-aging. It's like, oh, wait, hold on, that seems more important right now. so yeah, sometimes those go hand in hand. So anything that's antioxidant or anti-inflammatory or anything along those lines are going to also have the vanity, the beauty aspect of it too, with the benefit of inflammation. But you look at like functional foods, like you said, tart cherry. You start looking at blueberries. You start looking at, any kind of dark berry, honestly, that has a lot of antioxidants in it. They have what's called an ORAC value. That's the fancy word for how good is it at, getting inflammation down. And then you start looking at other things like, you said, quercetin. Okay, quercetin breaks down inflammation. That's why it helps with allergies. And then you start talking about CoQ10. You start talking about alpha-lipoic acid, which are free, antioxidants, which also help inflammation down. So I usually tell people start with the functional foods first. You want greens, you want fruits, you want veggies. That's something we always need to incorporate into our food. I really try. I'm not a huge green fan, but I love spinach. Mm-hmm. I absolutely love raw spinach, so I eat the heck out of raw spinach. You probably won't see me throw down a lot of broccoli, but I do love me some raw spinach. So I try to incorporate everything. So that's kind of the first step. And then the green powders that you have in your store, I'm sure you have a nice set of them.
Yeah.
It's so easy to add that to your food. I tell people, you can actually cook your meal. You can sprinkle some of that while you're cooking it, or finished cooking it on your meal. And you'll eat those greens, and I promise you probably won't even know they're there.
Oh.
You start with a little. That's how I did with my kiddo. I would add a little bit of greens every day, and it basically trains your taste buds. If all you eat is waffle fries, that's all your body's gonna ever want to taste. But if you trick it into saying, oh, there's a little bit of greens in here, it changes your taste buds. And so that's a great way to do that. And a big fan of, olive leaf extract, which, that's for immune system. But again, that's still a functional food. You probably have a lot of customers that come in and do flax oil or chia seed.
How about black seed oil? Black seed oil seems to be one of those social media, things that it's out there right now also. So how about it?
I can't knock it. I mean, I tell you, I have had so many customers that have tried black seed oil, not just for immune system, just for general health, and they love it. They absolutely love it. They feel great on it. And so, yes, I know it has a lot of hype behind it, but again, it's nice that you're having those customers come in asking you about it, because I'm sure you've had plenty of testimonies from your customers on black seed oil.
Yes.
Yeah. And so they can kind of hear what your customers are saying. And especially important when we have people come in asking for things, we're like, oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, no. In 40 years, I promise you, we have not had people come in and ask for this, and they come back and tell us, wow, that was like, no, we know the nuts and bolts, and so that's why I was encouraging you. If you hear on social media, nothing wrong with that. Come into a health food store, especially one that's been around for a while. We can cut right to it. I'm going to tell you, okay, let me just tell you this. If you're looking to help with inflammation, for instance, there's a lot of other things you can take for that. And we know those, like you said, your tart cherry and everything else. But yeah, that's today's world, Michelle. That's the good part, the good part and the bad part. But that's okay. It gets people in.
Years ago, we had a library of books. Now we have our computer, our tablet, our phones, that we can look up this information on our own. And I tell people all the time, make sure when you're looking up this, make sure it's research, make sure it's credible research. There are companies out there that, quote things that really that's their own opinions, So I tell them to look it up and research yourself. Don't believe just me. Don't believe just you. Look it up. Research it for yourself so you know what you're doing. Like black seed for oil, for example. I have, oh my goodness, I don't know, 40, 50 people that are using black seed oil for arthritis.
Yeah.
But for the anti-inflammatory effect. But there's lots of research out there, coming out of like India and so forth. I look at all that research, and that's what I want my customers to do also, so they're learning, and then they can also pass that information onto, believe it or not, onto their doctors. I tell them all the time, take it to your doctor, show them, let them read it. They have an opinion also. Sometimes they might not know anything about it, and you're the one that just educated them. So take it to them as well.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, we are at the top of the hour. You feel better. Take that, Kirsten. And
I feel good. Actually, I feel good. I just don't sound as good. I feel good. It's just a crud. It's okay. It's clearing up. So
yeah.
Just fine.
Allergies this time of the year, buddy. It just they kind of sneak up on you all at one time too. So, well, you take care, and I'm sure I will be talking to you soon again.
Thank you, Michelle. Always a pleasure.
All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Take care.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening, and we will talk to you next week.
Brady, Fox News.
U.S. officials confirming to Fox News that American and Iranian negotiators have reached a 60-day ceasefire extension, a memorandum of understanding.
Fox's Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv.
The question now is whether or not President Trump and Iran's supreme leader, Mustafa Khamenei, will sign off to move this deal forward. As part of the current framework, we are told this would extend the ceasefire and open the Strait of Hormuz. The issue of Iran's nuclear program would be pushed down the road, and already we're starting to see